All right, so Jason here with Fender Garage in Gilbert, Arizona, and we have a 2005 Ford Ranger. Now, we've talked about this. We're going to put an Ecoboost motor in it and see if we can get all this to come together and work. And it's actually a little harder than we anticipated with the fit, but we'll talk about that. So phase one is get the old motor drivetrain out, which we did. That was not that hard. We got that done in like a day and left all the electrical wiring intact. So we just disconnected it, pulled it out, and got that done. Then the second thing we did is try to see if we could figure out how to get this motor in here. Now, this is an Ecoboost motor. It's a 3.5, and it's the 450 horsepower one out of the Raptor. It's a brand new crate motor. So this is what we've got. And I'm telling you, it is as tight as can be. I wanted to try to retain all the factory heat and air box over here. We wanted to keep all the steering and everything as intact as we could. And then we ran into some problems. It was so tight that the turbos that are mounted on each side, they actually don't fit. And so what we're gonna do is we're going to relocate those and have to build a custom exhaust header to come out to capture those and then run all the other tubing into the intercooler and done. We're going to change out the radiator. We've kind of tested it. We're going to put a little bit bigger radiator in here and try to get this all to fit just perfectly. It's not an easy fit, but as you can look, it's in there and it actually doesn't look that bad. I actually kind of like the way that looks. So once we get all this put together up in here, then we'll pull the motor out and finish up the motor mounts, which we've got, you know, the mock-up ones in there, but we'll need to finish those up and kind of paint and wrap up. So this is where we are in the front end. We've got the gas pedal installed. If you take a look here, this is our Coyote mounted ECU. So the factory ECU was right there. We built a block off plate. We thought about sliding that in there, but the problem is that is a sealed box and the computer here is too big for that hole there. And so we were gonna have to cut too much out, which would actually potentially cause water to get inside the cabin. So we decided to leave that intact rather than keep, you know, cutting at it. I actually wanted to cut it and my guys didn't want to cut it. And so we actually compromised and came up with a good spot right here. Put the hood on it, make sure it fits, everything clears. So we're good to go. So follow me over here and let me show you a couple little things. All right, so we've actually got the pedal installed right here and it actually fits pretty good. It wasn't actually that hard. Jack got that mounted pretty quickly. As you can see, we got the turbos sitting right here on the floor to protect them, and we do need to get those fit in there. Hopefully in the next week or two, we'll be back on the front end. So let me show you what's going on in the back end here. So what we did is with that much horsepower and the tiny little 8 1/4 rear end, we decided to upgrade to a Ford 9-inch Curry. So we've installed a Ford 9-inch Curry, and we've got the shocks, the original shocks on there. We're going to upgrade these to the Fox shocks, so a little bit better ride in the back. Set up for these nice wheels and tires. We've got you know, the Wheelwood disc brake package on the back and everything to go with the Curry. With that, we actually are concerned about with these springs, you know, controlling how much wrap we get with the yoke on this thing. So what we did is we designed kind of a torque bar that will be mounted on here and will go up and catch the side of the frame and keep it nice and steady. So we should have that, I think, on Monday, and we'll get that mocked up, and if everything goes good and mocks up well, then we'll pull everything out, final weld everything, and then we'll send it out to powder coat. We do have these end caps, which we've actually just tacked these on. We'll actually finish welding all the brackets and everything onto the axle and make sure all that's on nice and solid. Then we'll actually we got the bar from Mittler, which helps us weld these on nice and straight. So we'll run that bar in there with all the little spacers to help us keep it nice and straight. And then we'll weld this on to make sure this is on nice and square. Oftentimes when you're welding onto your 9-inch and you weld all those brackets on, you can actually create a little bit of a curvature in your rear end, which can cause your axles and bearings to wear out sooner because they're working overtime because they're a little bit in a bowed housing. So anyway, so we should be next week, we'll have all this stuff done and the rear suspension all wrapped up, excuse me, and then we should be ready to start focusing on running our turbos and getting those done. And once we get the turbos all ran, we're just kind of, you know, looking to get started in electrical. We do have, just to kind of let you know how it went inside the floor, we've got a 10R80 mounted up in here. And so honestly, it fit, believe it or not. I mean, it's tight, everything's tight, but we had about, you know, 1/2 inch clearance, and we didn't have to do anything inside on the floor. So spent a lot of time fitting, moving, adjusting angles, and I think we got a pretty good spot on it. So again, we still got to get the turbos wrapped up, an intercooler built for it, the radiator installed, but I want to get all the rear suspension kind of done so we can kind of push this thing around and work on it and get it on a lift. And so the drive shaft's going to be super simple. These come with an aluminum drive shaft, so we'll actually have that cut down and rebalanced, and then we'll be good to go. So we do plan to hopefully get this in the wiring department in the next 2 to 3 weeks, where that's probably going to be the trickiest part, is because we got an OBD2 system that has now been omitted. I got rid of that computer. We have to add our computer, and we have to somehow get all this stuff still work together. So not the end of the world, we'll figure it out. We will upgrade the fuel pump in the tank, and so that we can kind of keep all of that, you know, working together, and hopefully all the gauges and everything, we'll get all that to work. So challenges, but we'll overcome them. So we need to get this wrapped up as quick as we can so we can get it back to our customer, because he's pretty anxious to get it. At the time he gave it to us, he didn't tell me that this was his only mode of transportation and that he's now driving a motorcycle. So we're kind of under the gun to get this thing wrapped up. A very cool project. It's definitely going to be unique, and definitely don't know another Ford Ranger like this with a Raptor Ecoboost crammed in it. So it's going to definitely be a fun project. So stay tuned. We'll try to keep you updated and as we progress and get things done and how we did it. So if it's something you're looking to do, maybe that'll help you. Or if you want to send it to us, obviously after we do this one, we 100% know all the, you know, ways to do it. So stay tuned and subscribe, get all the new updates. Thanks.